Hello, has your anxiety come back? Did you have problems with anxiety that you thought you'd gotten rid of, only for it to return a few days, weeks, months, or even years later? Well, in this video, I'm going to give you 6 reasons that happens, and also why it doesn't happen. So my name's Paul, and I work online with people all over the world to help them overcome their fear of driving. One of the most common questions people ask me is, will it come back after I've got rid of it? Or once it's gone, is it just gone forever? Well, let's dive into these 6 reasons why it can come back. And you'll see why I'm saying come back like that soon. Number 1, and the first thing you need to realise, is you never had a problem in the first place. So it hasn't come back because you never really even had it. Now, before people start getting angry and saying, you don't understand, I've been suffering for years and I get sweaty palms and my heart races, and people just don't understand what I'm going through, let me explain why that is incorrect. I want you to imagine that you are in a bank one day and a man runs in through the door and starts waving a gun at people, and he's trying to rob the bank. Now, for many people, that will be enough to give them some kind of anxiety or panic attack. They'd start sweating, their heart starts racing, and then the man with the gun pulls the trigger, and it's just a water pistol, and it was just a prank. Now, you see how you were never in any danger to begin with, but because you thought you were, your body produced the reactions of the sweaty palms, your heart racing, your stomach getting all knotted up. And that's what I mean when we say you've never really had a problem anyway. It doesn't matter how real you think your problem is. Yes, you've got physical symptoms. Yes, you'll start to sweat and shake and panic. But you haven't got a problem. It's only because you're thinking you've got a problem subconsciously. That's why you have a problem. Because you haven't. And you see, this is the thing. When people say it's come back, it hasn't come back because you never had it in the first place. All that's happened is you've started to think the same things you did before, and you're bringing on the same reactions, but you haven't brought it back because it was never there to begin with. So for the rest of this video, I am going to talk about the problem coming back, but please realise it never really comes back because it was never really there in the first place. Number 2 is it's when the therapy is done in a fake way. So let me explain a very common trick that's used with hypnosis, which can make people a lot of money very quickly, make them look brilliant, but it's actually a con. You'll see online, if you go looking, you can easily find these videos where people say things like, I can stop you smoking in 5 minutes, and they'll film themselves doing it. They'll go up to people in the street and they'll just say, you a smoker? Yeah. Do you want to stop? And they'll say, well, yeah, that'll be nice. And they'll say, right, I can do it in 5 minutes. Now, you must understand there are 2 kinds of hypnosis. You can do it in a very temporary, fast, flashy way, which is what you see in stage shows. You've probably seen some kind of stage show where people go up onto a stage and they're made to forget their name, or the hypnotist will put them into this trance, and they'll say, when you open your eyes, every time you hear me say the word hypnosis, you're going to burst into laughter and you'll be unable to stop laughing. Now that stuff is real. Yes, it's genuine. You can do that because you're temporarily overriding someone's mind in a way. I'm not going to get too deep into this. It isn't mind control. You can't make people do anything. That's nonsense. But it's an illusion that you can temporarily control someone's mind. That's one kind of hypnosis. The thing is, that's just a temporary illusion. You're not really overriding their mind. All it is for a few minutes, maybe up to half an hour or so, they're believing something to be true when it's not. Which links back to what I said in point number 1, you're believing something to be true when it's not. Because I don't know if you realise this, but if you've got anxiety, all you've actually done is hypnotise yourself into thinking you've got a problem. That's why you're freaking out when you drive or whatever the situation is for you that scares you, and other people are calm because you're simply believing something to be true when it's not, because you've hypnotized yourself. So you see, what happens is some therapy is done in a fake way. You'll go along to them and they'll put you into this trance, and then they'll say to you, I want you to now try and pick up a cigarette. And when you try and pick it up, you won't be able to. It's quite a funny feeling. You'll be moving your arm towards it, but even if you go to touch it, you won't want to, and something will stop you. And if you go to bring the cigarette up to your mouth, you just won't be able to. And this is not fake, this is genuine. People who have been through this and experienced it will tell you it's real. You simply cannot lift up the cigarette. But it only lasts for a few minutes. And the problem is, some therapists and some people online who are quite unscrupulous and make themselves look brilliant with these fake videos, they'll go up to people in the street, they'll do this trick where you can make someone not able to pick up a cigarette, and they'll say, you've done it, you've stopped smoking, I'm brilliant. And then they'll say, how much are you going to save a year on smoking? And you say, well, I'll save £1,000 a year easy. And they'll say, okay, so how about you give me £1,000 then, because I've saved you that much money, and you'll be saving that year after year after year. And some people say, yeah, that's great, I'm going to pay you. I'll tell you what, I'll give you £600, £700. Yeah, great. They take the money and they run, because they know that is not going to last for more than half an hour or so. And that is why sometimes it will come back, because you never really got rid of it. Isn't it funny how you never really got rid of a problem that you never really had in the first place? Number 3 is that people go picking at the problem. So what can happen is you can do therapy properly and professionally, and you can solve it within an hour. I'm not saying it can't be done quickly, but it can't be done in 5 minutes, like I mentioned in the last point. But let's say you take an hour and you do it properly. And I will always tell people after a session to go off and do something, go and enjoy your day, go and do something which is away from the problem that you had. But some people ignore that, and what people do is the exact opposite of everything they're supposed to do. Instead of going and getting on with the day, like we said, instead of enjoying their life and just going out and doing whatever they want, they sit down and they start picking at the problem. They start writing down everything that happened in the session. Well, he said this, and I thought this, and I did this. Oh, and then this happened, and then I thought of this. If you start doing that, you can undo everything that has been done. It's just like if you've injured yourself and you go and have some stitches put in, and instead of just letting it heal by leaving the wound alone, you start picking at the stitches and picking them and pulling them and poking them and prodding them. What's going to happen when you do that? Well, of course, you're going to just make it worse. The wound will start bleeding again. And it's the same with hypnotherapy. If you start picking away at your mind after you've done a session and start trying to think what happened, how did I do that, you'll just undo it all and it will all unravel. Reason 4 is that you didn't find all of the parts of the problem. People often don't realise that a problem is never just isolated to one thing. I say in my videos about how you need to find the root cause of a problem and then it will go. And it's really funny how people say, well, I found the root cause and it hasn't gone. No, it's not that simple. You don't just sit there and think, why have I got anxiety? Oh, it's because when I was a kid, that teacher shouted at me. Oh, it's gone, my life's changed. No, there's a lot more to it than that. It's never just one thing, and it isn't just memories. It can be thoughts, feelings, emotions, sensations. So if you don't find all of the parts of the problem, if you leave one little thing alone and you don't find it, then the problem will effectively come back. And finding all of the parts is much harder than you might think, and that's what separates a brilliant therapist from an average one, because it is not easy, and I can guarantee you 99.9% of therapists will not find all of the parts. And I know that because when I watch therapists work, they always miss out one big thing which no one ever teaches, and if you miss it out, your problems will just keep returning. And I have therapists email me saying, how'd you do it? How'd you get these results? Well, it's partly because it's one big thing that I don't reveal. Number 5 is you've simply got too much to gain from having the problem. So sometimes what can happen, and this is only a theory, it's not one I really agree with, but let me explain the theory. The theory is there's this thing called secondary gain, which is when you've got a problem, but you can't get rid of it because although it's a problem, it's serving a bigger purpose. So let's say, for example, with someone who smokes, they know they don't want to smoke, they know it's wrong to smoke, they know it gives them health problems, and they can't understand why they can't get rid of it. And it may be, a classic example, is because they've got a really stressful job that they don't like. Now, when they're in this stressful job, being able to go outside and have a quick 5-minute cigarette break is a perfect excuse for them to get out of the stressful job for a few minutes. So you see, that's secondary gain. They are gaining the ability to get rid of the stress in their work by having another problem, which is smoking. Now, the reason I said I don't believe in this is secondary gain is itself just part of the problem. So, is it real? People argue about this, but really, secondary gain, gaining something from having the problem, just means you didn't really find parts of the problem, as we mentioned in point 4. And point 6, which is really important, is something I've mentioned in other videos called processing. You do not just fix a problem and it instantly goes overnight. It doesn't happen like that. For some lucky people, it can, but for most people, there is a thing called processing. Processing is when your mind has to process everything and it has to think about things and move things around. It's a bit like your mind going into a clothes shop. So after you've done a session, your mind thinks, okay, so this anxiety is not good, but I need to find something else instead. Because there is a popular saying in therapy, avoid a void. So that's the word avoid, A-V-O-I-D, then A, then another word, void. Avoid a void. If you leave a void in your mind, another problem can just jump straight in. And this is what happens when your mind is going into this clothes shop and trying on different clothes. It may try on one set of clothes and it doesn't like them too much, so it tries on another and it looks better, and another one looks even better. And then maybe 3 weeks in, it tries on another set of clothes and it doesn't like it at all, and that's when your problem appears to come back because your mind has simply taken on a bad set of clothes that he doesn't like. Then he tries on another set of clothes, and this is all just a model, a metaphor, of course. Your mind isn't really trying on clothes. And then he finds a new set of clothes that he does like. So you see, over time, the problem can seem to come and go because your mind is just trying on new clothes. So those are 6 reasons why your anxiety may seem to have come back. And I do stress point number 1. It doesn't matter how physical the symptoms are. It doesn't matter how much you might cry, shake. It might seem like your life is falling apart and it's in ruins. It isn't. Because always remember, you haven't actually got a problem anyway. You just think you have a problem, and that's what's causing the problem. So please don't despair if you think, oh, my problem's come back and I'll never get rid of it. You don't need to get rid of it because you haven't got it anyway. And that's what therapy is. We simply make people realise you haven't actually got a problem anyway. And whatever you might say about I have, I can promise you, you haven't. So it hasn't come back because you never really had it in the first place. Check out these other videos on the screen now for more help overcoming anxiety. And if you want to work with me one-to-one online, you can contact me through my website, firstdrive.com. Thanks for watching, and as always, I'll see you again soon for more videos.